Hello and welcome to adh-TV. My name is Morten Valeur and I come from Denmark. This is one of my favorite shrimp flies, and this is the one I'll be tying in this video. I fished this for many years, and one of the characteristics with this fly is that it is really translucent, and the sun and the light will come through and look like a real shrimp. It's pretty easy to tie, and only a few materials are needed. So hang on, we'll do this fly now. The polar dubbing comes in many different colors, and you can actually mix it as you want. You can make it in all different colors. You can make them light colored, you can make them dark colored, and just make them in the color that you want for your fly tying or maybe your fishing water. This is, as I said, a shrimp pattern made for fishing for sea trout in saltwater. The basic color in this pattern is the white polar dubbing. I use that a lot, and then I can add all the other colors as I go by. If I fish in some of the small fjords, I'll use maybe green dubbing or a darker color like this, and maybe a little bit of tan. I'll just mix it as I show you here. Put in a little tan. This is more or less just a feeling. You can do the mixture you want to. A little lighter green. There's no two flies that will be exactly the same. There'll always be a little difference between the colors I do them in. And I add a little bit of ice dubbing as well. It's the pearl colored one, which is very reflective. So don't use too much of this, just a little bit, just to add a little bit of flash in the fly. But it's very easy to see when it's sunny, so be careful not to use too much. And then you just mix it like this with your fingers. Pull all the fibers out. Have to be a little bit careful about this, so you get it mixed well. It takes a little time. But this is more or less all you need for this fly. I need a pair of eyes as well, and I need some antennas, and that's all. And you have the finished fly, more or less. So the polar dubbing mixed with a little bit of ice dub is the basic material on this fly. It's a little bit like mixing paint. In the beginning you can see all the colors is still visible in here, but if I mix it well, it will all disappear. Looks like one color, and more lifelike, I think. That's about it. This is the color for the body of the fly, and I'll need a little bit darker one for the back of the shrimp. I'll show you now. So what I do now is I take a little bit of this, maybe 1/3 or something like that, and add a little bit of dark colored polar dubbing. For example, a dark tan, maybe a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more of the olive one. And then I mix again. So this is when the fly is finished. This will be the back of the shrimp. Normally, if you look at a shrimp in the water, the back will be a little bit darker than the belly and the body. So that's actually what I'm trying to imitate by using a darker color for the back. If this is important for the fish, I don't know, but it's important for me, and I like to have a fly like this. So, and you can see that now, if you look at these two colors, you can see this is a little bit darker than this one, and that will be visible in the fly as well when it's finished. Okay, I'm ready for the tying. The hook I'm using for this fly is Partridge CS54, which is a shrimp hook. I think it's yeah, that's the best hook for shrimps in my opinion. We use that a lot for shrimp flies in Denmark. The thread is white, as it is on most saltwater flies for some strange reason. Maybe it's because we use a lot of light materials. I prefer the white one as well. I'll tie a little bit down in the hook bend to get this shrimpy look, you can say. Not too far back, just yeah, a little bit. Then I'll take a little bit of my light colored dubbing as the first one. And what is very important here is that you make the fibers parallel to each other. So you pull out all the crinkled ones. You want to make them a bunch of fibers that's more or less straight. And you can see like this now. It's almost straight, all of them, like that. And the bunch should not be too big or too small. That's just a feeling when it's correct. I think it's about this size. So what I do now is that I take the small bunch of dubbing, put it around the thread, double it, and then I tie it in like that. It's very easy to do when you have the grip of it, and it puts the material just where you want it, not anywhere else, just on the back here, like that. The next thing I need to do, this is actually the head of the shrimp. The head is a bit different than in other flies. This is the head and this is the back of the fly. So if you look at a shrimp and the head of a shrimp, you will see that it has a mouth here. So that's what I'm going to do now. I make a cut in the dubbing, cut most of it off again actually, like that. And then I'll take a little bit of the light again, light colored dubbing, just a little bit, little bunch. Put around. Oh, didn't succeed. Try again. Which I allow to be a little bit longer, like that. And the next thing I need to do is to cover this part of the dubbing with a little bit more dubbing in the normal fashion. Just put a little bit of dubbing on your thread and cover this bump. This will also work as a bit of dubbing to split the eyes, which I'll put in now. The eyes I'm using is just normal shrimp eyes like this. Black ones, you can use red ones and other colors as well, but I think most shrimps have brown or black eyes, so I prefer the black ones for that. And I'll put one eye in at a time. You can make a small, bend them a little bit to be sure that they will stay divided. Just put them in like that. One on each side. That was the first one. You need to use quite tight wraps to do this, otherwise it will come off again. And leave a lot of the stem here, so you can't pull them out afterwards. I do the same thing on the other side. This was a little bit longer than the first one I put in, so I remove a bit of that. Put on some varnish. Just need to check that everything is fine here. I think it is. Can pull the eyes up a little bit. So now the eyes are in place where they should be. And that's actually maybe the most complicated part about this fly, to make the head of the shrimp. And first when you've done that, then the rest will be pretty easy to do. What I need to do now is to put the first bunch of a little bit darker color of dubbing on as the back of the fly. Again, a small bunch which I put all the fibers even, like that. And here I do a small trick here. I don't want the bunch to be exactly the same length, so it looks unnatural. So what I do is that I want the main part of the bunch to be 2/3 and the other end to be 1/3. You can do that in two ways. You can either do like this, just tie it in and then pull the smaller part or the shorter part backwards, or you can do like this, just put it around your tying thread like I did with the tail or head, like that, but to be sure that this is longer than this one. So 2/3, 1/3, and then you pull it all back like that. So now you have it's maybe hard to see in the video here, but you actually have now a back of the fly where the back is a little bit darker than the mouth or head or whatever you would call this, and behind the eyes. So now you're ready to proceed. Then I make a pretty big dubbing loop, like that. Put on the dubbing wheel. Then I take my light colored dubbing again. Pretty big bunch actually. You don't need to straighten the fiber this time. I just want a long bunch of dubbing which I can put in the dubbing loop, like that. It's pretty easy to do actually. It maybe looks a little bit difficult, but it isn't, because the dubbing is quite easy to work with. So, and then I twist it. There's an important thing here. You need to twist this. You need to twist it exactly right. And what is exactly right? That's maybe hard to determine. Not too much or not too little. So like this, more or less. What you need to be able to is to pull out the fibers without pulling them out totally. So that's a bit of it's not the easiest thing to do, but you'll manage, I'm quite sure. I think this is appropriate, and then I'll use my dubbing teaser. You probably pull out a lot of fibers, but that doesn't really matter as long as there's some left here as well. And I think I'm pretty satisfied with that. Just need to get back to where I was aiming at. Then I place the tying thread approximately in the middle. So and there's a reason for that, I'll show you a little bit later. Then you pull the fibers backwards as you are working your way forwards here. Make 2 or 3 turns before you use your dubbing teaser again. It's easier to do this for each 2 or 3 turns. If you do it when the fly is finished, it's more difficult to pull out the fibers. And what I want to create is a very translucent fly where the light and sun can shine through the fibers. So 2 or 3 turns and then you use the dubbing brush. Maybe you can use your dubbing needle as well, but I prefer this Velcro dubbing tease, but it doesn't really matter, you can use your dubbing needle, that will do the trick as well. 1, 2, I'll make 3 this time, and 3, tease, just now it doesn't look like a fly, but it will in the end. And then I think I'm approximately in the middle now. Let's stop there, tease it, and then I'll just leave this hanging here for a short while. What I'll do now is, I still want this brown back on the fly, and I put in some of the brown dubbing again. Take a fairly big bunch, and here I want the same thing as I did before. I want the fibers to be even. I pull out all the curly ones, I just want the straight ones. And as I said, it's a little bit darker than the rest of the fly. Put it in as I did with the back, around the thread, like that. Easy to put it in exactly where you want it. And I got the back on the fly. Then you move your thread forwards to the hook eye, and you continue your dubbing. 2 turns, 3 maybe? 3 it was. Next one. 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. And the fly is almost finished. I think I put in 1 turn more here, like that. It doesn't matter that, it's okay that it's less dubbing here than there. If you look at the shrimp, the back of the shrimp will be thinner than the front, so a little bit tapered is fine. The only thing I need to do now is to put in a small bunch of the dark colored dubbing again. Yes. And the fly is finished. The same thing as I did before. Straighten the fibers, pulling out the curly ones. This is a little bit smaller bunch than the other ones, just to finish the fly. Same thing again, double the dubbing bunch around the thread. Oi. Before I finish the fly, I'll just pull out the dubbing underneath the fly as well. The fly is finished. So you can do it with finisher, or you can be lazy like I am. Just use your finger and do some half turns. Put on some varnish. You can put on antennas on this fly as well. I didn't do it in this one, but if you want to put in antennas, you do it just after you put in the eyes. And what I normally use for that, I use a few fibers of this D-fiber blend, which works quite fine as antenna, but I didn't do it in this pattern. You can do it or not. I don't really think it matters for the fish to do it, but if you want to, use that kind, or polar bear if you are able to get that. Quite nice as well. Otherwise, the fly is finished. I've just put on some varnish and you can go fishing.